Well, hello again. I see Ben Emlyn-Jones is persisting with his fake moon landing nonsense. I haven't watched either of the videos he's put on his channel, but I'm guessing they're the same as the ones that were on the Neil Peel channel. And I don't know, they just don't learn, do they? I mean, they're debunked and debunked and debunked and debunked, but they still let their videos stand. You know, I mean, all the points they raised in their previous videos are clearly debunked. Yet the videos remain. I have to wonder why. Including the one where I've got Marcus Allen saying in his own words that Von Braun and co. were the Germans that got America to the moon. In the middle of a presentation all about the moon landing being faked. I mean, what on earth is going on there? And yeah, I saw a couple of links there left by Steve Palmer, which I thought were pretty good. It's either from the British Interplanetary Society, I think it's on the All-Is site as well. I think Steve left both of them, where Marcus Allen says that he doesn't doubt that NASA put men on the moon. And indeed, his Freudian slips show beyond doubt that's the case. Why would he say Von Braun and co. were the Germans that got America to the moon if he doesn't believe any of it happened? But he told the either the British Interplanetary Society or the Astronomical Society or something like that, that he didn't doubt that the Americans put someone on the moon. He just doubted the photographic record. Strip there because of that wide load going the other way. And I don't know. I really don't know what's the matter with these people. I mean, they're just making themselves look like bloody idiots. And someone, it might have been Steve Palmer again, put a thing up there about Walsh's book selling one copy or something. Must have been to his mother. And he got a 1-star review. So actually, no, it couldn't have been his mum, could it? Would have got a 5-star review if it had been his mother. Oh dear. And oh, there was some other stuff that I saw that I was going to comment on. I actually commented on when I was having my breakfast this morning. There was a thing come up to say that Matthew Williams was having a live thing. So I left a couple of comments on Matthew Williams' channel on the on the scrolling comments thing. And about 2 or 3 minutes after that, he had to take a break. And I had to leave, unfortunately, so I couldn't watch any more of that because it was 6:40 in the morning here in Australia, and I'd eaten my Sultana bran, had my coffee, and it was time for me to go and do some work. I'm finished for the day, fortunately. I'm quite liking the working conditions under this COVID thing, because I'm working from home at the moment, and quite often I'm working a lot less hours. Today I should be home before 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So talking into the camera there. It slows down to 80 as you cross the speed limit, 80 across the railway line. Sometimes they put a speed camera there. I should have been a bit more on the ball and looking for the speed camera rather than talking to you. But never mind. Anyway, I'll get a fine. But the other thing, there's a couple of other things on the Ben Emlyn-Jones channel. Oh yeah, so Matthew Williams, unfortunately I couldn't hang around and see if there was anything else I wanted to comment on. It had actually been running for 2 hours before I got up this morning. It said live stream started 2 hours and 8 minutes ago, I think, something like that anyway. So having the old Sultana brand, and I thought, chucked in a comment here, chucked in another comment there, and suddenly, better take a break. So, not a big coincidence, maybe not. But it would appear that Matthew Williams has unbanned me, come to think of it. He must have unblocked me, mustn't he? Because I don't think you can comment on the live stream thing if you're blocked. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. Anyway, back to Ben Emlyn-Jones. Now, he was doing a comments reply video the other day, and he read out a comment from me where I said aliens with claws, because there was an incident in America, had to be really, were a bunch of hicks out in Bravo Foxtrot somewhere. They said a flying saucer landed and these aliens got out, and they actually engaged the aliens. They were shooting at them, and when they hit them, they sounded like hitting empty trash cans, you know. And they described the aliens as having claws and you know, typical science fiction, like 50s science fiction aliens. So I left a comment saying, well, we know this story is fictitious because the aliens are described as having claws. You know, critters with claws couldn't develop a technology. If they can't develop a technology, they're not going to be able to build a spacecraft and come here. And Ben completely went off at a tangent, missed the point entirely, as he often does with these. You know, read a little bit and then away he goes. He won't read the whole thing. And he said, yes, I agree with you, Steve. I've even said that, you know, if dolphins could be more smarter than us, but they can't develop technology because they live underwater and they've got flippers, you know. And I thought, well, that's not the point. And then he goes on to talk about the Hicks engaging the aliens, and shooting them was like hitting trash cans. You know, the point is, if they've got claws, the story is fictitious. But he supports the story, yet he says, you know, critters with claws can't develop technology. So you really need to develop some critical thinking ability there, Ben. You really do. And the other thing he said was, made me laugh actually. I said, you know the movie Signs, where the aliens are thwarted by a wooden door. You know, what's his name? Gibson, Mel Gibson? Is that Guy Gibson? Goes in the cellar and hides behind a wooden door, doesn't he? The aliens come down there and you can hear them. They're trying to open the door, but they can't. You know? So the alien invasion was thwarted by a wooden door. And I said it was pathetic, you know, because if aliens came here and with hostile intent, we're not going to be able to defeat them. You know, we'll get slaughtered, creamed, poisoned probably from space. You know, it would be done biologically, I think. We'd never get in a shooting war with aliens. And he said, well, I said it's laughable that aliens, you know, they can develop the technology to build starships and come here light years across space, and they're thwarted, their plans are thwarted by a wooden door. And Ben said, well, it depends on the aliens. Absolutely zero critical thinking ability. You know, anything that's pro-alien, oh yeah, that can happen. You know, they can develop a technology, build starships, come here, but they can't. You know, if a wooden door is locked, that's it. You know, they've got to get in the spacecraft, fly light years home again. That's their plans thwarted. Oh dear. You're hilarious. And there was another good comment that was left the other day by someone called Okamite. Thanks for the comments, Okamite. And it was regarding the fake moon landing. You know, the people that say the American moon landing was faked. Of course, it's ridiculous. I've said before it's ridiculous. Marcus Allen knows it's ridiculous. The Russians wouldn't keep a secret like that for 50 years, let alone eternity. And I've got I'm making a video, and I'm going to include a clip where Ben Emlyn-Jones is actually saying it doesn't matter what organisation it is. There's always information always leaks out. You know, and I left a comment with a timestamp to that comment on his video, and said, how can you apply this logic to the KGB files UFO video, which is what he was talking about, and not be able to apply it to the NASA moon landing? Not one person from NASA has come forward and said it was faked. Not one. And you hear this rubbish about them leaving clues in the pictures, you know, to let everybody know secretly that it was faked. All they had to do was phone 60 Minutes. It would have been the scoop of the century. They'd have been paid millions. Rubbish. Zero critical thinking ability. Anyway, Okamite left a comment and he said, well, if the Russians were supporting the Americans with a fake moon landing story, why haven't we seen a Russian moon landing? One good turn deserves another. So if the Russians were happy to support the Americans with a fake moon landing, why weren't the Americans happy to support the Russians with a fake moon landing the following year, or even 2 years, 2 years down the track? And I thought that's perhaps if anyone comes across Marcus Allen, they could pitch that at him and just ask him why he thinks that might be the case. And while you're at it, ask him why he might make a comment like Von Braun and co. When the Germans have got America to the moon. Oh dear. But yeah, I've never thought beyond. It's ridiculous, It's nonsense. The Russians, the national pride and the space race. There's no way the Russians would not have screamed from the rooftops that the Americans had faked it, had they faked it. They even sent an unmanned probe along at the same time to the moon, at the same time as Apollo 11, just to make sure the Americans actually went and did it. So yeah, I've never thought beyond that. So it never occurred to me. Yeah, what about a Russian moon landing? Of course, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Why wouldn't the Americans support the Russians with their fake moon landing story, with their moon landing story that happened to be faked? I mean, those guys are just clueless. What they say is just so full of holes. I mean, it makes a colander look like a solid sheet of metal. Really, it's just absolute bloody nonsense. Absolute nonsense. And also there's some UFO people getting a little bit excited about the Pentagon, saying that the footage that was the footage that we saw from the fighter planes was actually real footage. Yeah, they're not saying it's ET though, are they? They're saying it's real footage, and what we see in the footage is not what the pilots described. We don't see all this crazy manoeuvring that we don't see these things leaving the fighter planes in their dust. These objects remain firmly in the crosshairs with the wing cameras on the fighter jets, so they're not doing anything the fighter jets can't match. And if I had to guess, and of course I do, come to think of it, I would say that because the story goes, with the Tic Tac, there was the roiling seawater, it came out of the ocean, it was flying along. I wouldn't be at all surprised, because it was near an American fleet, wasn't it, that was exercising at the time. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it wasn't some Russian gizmo, and the Russians launched it from a submarine just to see what the Americans would say about it, or to see what they could do with it. Because the Russians have got that Sval supercavitating rocket-propelled torpedo that's about 350 knots underwater. Apparently the Americans said that couldn't be done, and the Russians, until the Americans saw the Russians testing them. So it might be that they've got some gadget that can fly horizontally using some super new technology. Who knows? It wouldn't be anti-gravity, but it's probably something very clever. Not too far above the surface of the ocean, launched from a submarine. Just let one go and see what the Americans make of it. Just fire one, launch one. See what the Americans make of it. And I think that's far more likely than it being anything extraterrestrial, to be perfectly honest. I mean, let's face it, the odds of it being something extraterrestrial are phenomenal. Against it being extraterrestrial phenomenal, the odds against it being some sort of secret Russian gizmo, it's probably quite low. It's probably fairly likely that that's what it was. What's the speed limit on here? Okay, speeding up a little bit. Anyway. I can't think of it. Was there anything else I was going to say? Was there anything else I was going to say? While I've got the camera running. It's been going for 14 minutes. Oh yeah, it was. And that is Ben Emlyn-Jones tells us over and over again that the statement from Mac Brazel, the one where he says he found balsa wood sticks and strips of rubber, tin foil, was not his real statement. He changed his statement. And of course, he has to say that because he's a UFO enthusiast, you know. Because if you read Mac Brazel's statement, it kills the Roswell story stone dead. Absolutely stone dead. So that the story doesn't kill the Roswell story stone dead, it has to be the wrong story. He has to have changed it. Now, I haven't seen any evidence whatsoever of a different statement being made by Mac Brazel. If you have, maybe you could leave a link below. But the only statement I've ever seen from Mac Brazel is the one I've posted several times, where he says he went out there with Wilcox and Cavett and Marcel, and they found tinfoil, strips of balsa wood strips and Scotch tape in his field. That's what he says he found. And Marcel is the only one that was saying it was an alien spacecraft. These materials were unusual, because Cavett and Wilcox have never said that. In fact, Cavett, all his life, has said what they found was tinfoil balsa wood sticks. And he even signed an affidavit to say that what Jesse Marcel was holding up in that famous image of him in General Ramey's office, where he's holding up a sheet of tinfoil, is the wreckage they found on Brazel's ranch. Of course, a UFO enthusiast will have to say, well, no, it's not. That's not the real wreckage. It was switched. It was switched because it obviously doesn't look like an alien spacecraft. Well, I'm doing the speed limit. That truck is obviously a nut driving that truck. There's a couple of cars in front of me as well. I'll probably see him upside down in a ditch a bit further up the road. If I do, I'll pretend to stop and help him. What I'll actually do is put my foot on his neck and take his watch. So Cavett signed an affidavit to say that image with Jesse Marcel holding a sheet of tinfoil is the wreckage they found in Brazel's field. The tinfoil is what they found. Jesse Marcel, we know, is a fantasist. He told people he was a decorated pilot. He wasn't a pilot at all. And I've posted information about Jesse Marcel as well, which gives a list of quite a few yarns that he spun. And he was the only one saying it was an alien spacecraft. So Cavett and Brazel are saying what they found was balsa wood sticks and tinfoil. I don't know exactly what Sheriff Wilcox said, to be perfectly honest, but I don't think he's on record as saying he thinks it was an alien spacecraft, is he? So there we go. But it doesn't matter how much evidence you put under these people's noses. You know, statements from the people that actually found the Roswell debris, Ben will choose not to believe it. That statement's a substitute statement. It'll be interesting to see what he says about Cavett. He'll probably say the same thing. Well, Cavett was an intelligence officer. What can you expect? You know, he could say the same thing about Marcel, couldn't he? So I think it's pretty obvious, you know, that there's nothing extraterrestrial to the Roswell story, as much as Ben would like there to be. What's going on here? Got a van in front of me, and he keeps slowing down and speeding up. He's probably looking for a left turn, I think. Now he's going faster than the speed limit again. And now he's slowing down again. Still, at least I've finished for the day. I'm just cruising back to Perth. I've got about a 2-hour drive, something like that. Beautiful day, as you can see. You can see behind me. Beautiful blue sky. It is autumn here in Australia at the moment. External temperature is 18 degrees centigrade, so it's not terribly warm, so I'm wearing my jacket. Fleecy jacket. But it's certainly not cold with the jacket on. It's certainly not cold in the car. So anyway, How are we doing? 18 minutes, okay. Well, it's probably run long enough. Talked about Cavett. Yeah, so Ben will always choose. He will fabricate something in his head. You know, it's like anything in science fiction could be solved with one line of text. Ben's line of text is it's a substitute statement. Whether it comes from Roswell, whether it comes from Cavett, whether it comes from anybody at all that says whatever the situation was, it did not involve ET, and the evidence is strongly suggestive, strongly indicates that there's nothing to it. He'll say that's a substituted statement. Unless it says it was ET, he'll never ever accept it. And even with the KGB files, the KGB UFO files, you know, I said, look, it's half a saucer propped up against a tree. You can clearly see there's a straight edge right across the bottom. The sides are stepped. It looks like a prop from a 50s science fiction movie. But Ben says, oh no, it's real. It's real. And I think Steve Palmer again listed some actors below Ben's video about the KGB UFO story. Some actors that actually took part in making that movie. They actually mention it in their movie credits. This actor, this actor, this actor, and this actor were all in the secret KGB UFO files. So it's a fabrication. It's a movie. It's obviously a movie propped up against some trees. Half a disc propped up against some trees. You know, with the leaves swept up to cover the straight edge across the bottom. Yeah. So it's just zero critical thinking ability, or it's just complete and utter unshakable bias. Doesn't matter what evidence you show him, he's never going to look at it and look at the evidence. He's always going to say, well, you know, it could be aliens, could be aliens. Because it couldn't be aliens. I've said before, aliens are not going to come here and crash. The spacecraft, the technology is going to be so far advanced of ours that, you know, it's not going to come here and crash. And Ben says, well, you know, at what point does technology become infallible? You know, airliners are not infallible, they crash. But you know, there's no comparison between an airliner and a starship. Some sort of interstellar vehicle, or a vehicle made by people that are capable of travelling between the stars. It's going to be made of all sorts of weird composite materials. It will be self-healing. Any critical systems will be backed up, so if they fail, there's another system that's going to take over. But they're going to be engineered so that they won't be allowed to crash on another planet. The technology will be that good. So it's not a case of them being infallible, it's just a case of, you know, if it does fail, it's going to keep flying. And he was saying, well, you know, we hear of UFOs being brought down by lightning. Well, that's just nonsense, you know, absolute drivel. Absolute drivel, because an alien spacecraft is not going to be affected by lightning. You know, aliens would have seen lightning before. They would engineer their vehicle so that they could take lightning hits without any damage. I mean, airliners are engineered so they can take lightning hits without any damage. I mean, most of the time, it's okay, it works. I mean, sometimes it causes an issue. But with the technology so advanced that you could get here from another star system, those flaws would not exist in the engineering. They just wouldn't. So UFOs are not going to be brought down by lightning, they're not going to be brought down by us. And if aliens came here with hostile intent, they'd just wipe us out biologically. We'd never even see them. They'd just spray something into the atmosphere and that'd be that. Everyone would be gone in a few days. That's how it would be done. Aliens would never get involved in the shooting wars. And at our level of technology, at the moment, there'd be absolutely nothing in it for them to introduce themselves to us. I think Roddenberry had that bit right in Star Trek. You know, if we're not capable of leaving our star system, then if they come here, the sort of questions they're going to be asked is, how do we do that? They're not going to be able to tell us, because there's probably it would not be to their advantage to have an immature species given a leg up into, interstellar travel. Doesn't make sense. Whether they actually do come here from time to time and see how we're doing is something else. I wouldn't rule that out. I don't think that's impossible. But I do think it's impossible that they'd crash. They'd leave us any biological or engineering samples. I don't think they'd be abducting people. And I don't think they'd be interfering with weapons. Someone else closing up on us really quick. Someone's sporting car. What's that? Lexus. Sorry, mate, you're going to have to wait. Alright, well, as always, if you've struggled through the video all the way to this point, many thanks for watching. There's a wide load up here. We're travelling a little bit slowly. It's gone into an 80 speed limit as well, so I might have to do some hair-raising driving myself shortly. Of course, I won't film that. Thanks for watching, and perhaps I'll catch you again.